Okay, so I'm going to put this first. Alright. This is my next video. Yesterday's video is now converting. I'm back from the children's hospital. Alright. Everybody at the hospital has their heart pumping with a heart of steel. Because Amari is underweight. I don't know, the doctor said, I don't know if it's 10% or something. He lost weight since the last time he's seen him. He's kind of glad that he didn't operate on him with the hip when he thought maybe he could do it because Amari's weight was, I suppose, at a safe weight to do an operation. The problem is, if he would have lost weight, which he was losing weight, while suffering from constipation, if he would have been in those casts, because they have to be on for like 8 months or more, with no guarantee that whatever the doctor did was going to be suffice for the rest of Amari's life, in terms of putting the hips in place with pins, hoping that the bones would merge itself back. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is he's been assigned, they labeled it, I don't know what the title of the department is, but it was a team, which in my mind, oh my God, because, it's an emergency, Amari's underweight, and, he's at that borderline of something, where the doctor said that with kids like him, once they get to that weight, right, you know what I'm saying, and it doesn't take much for them to fall fast, okay, so, right, and of course I expressed my feelings in regards to the drinks and the problems I was facing with the constipation, with or without laxatives or whatever, and, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I did record. I had the camera on my chair, but how much was heard and how much was said, because at one point I turned it off and then I turned it back on and then I turned it off again. And things were being said in there. I haven't even put it onto the other computer to see if there's anything even legible to hear, right? But if it is, I'll probably add it to this video just as a learning point, people, for Amari's cookbook, because there is going to be a section in there where when I find the time... Andre, shut up! You told me you weren't going to talk. When I find the time to sit down and start building on this cookbook, along with everything else when it comes to looking after a disabled child, and dealing with professionals in difficult situations where medical issues come up, whatever those medical issues are, because there's several of them that come in with these children, and each child is an individual who has their own medical issues, right? So you're dealing with multiple people in multiple fields over a period of time, consecutively, year after year. All right. So, I have to listen to it first, and then I'll decide whether I put it up or not, and I probably will, because it probably will come out fine in terms of recording, just in terms of the conversation that was going on around what was going on there with the hip doctor. This was with the hip doctor, and I straight up told him, you're the guy I'm afraid of the most. Why me, I said, because you're the one that wants to cut him open, and once you cut him open, we're going to get into some issues here, because it's only a 60% chance that what you're going to do is going to be successful without any complications. 60%. Well, a little more than 60%. 70%. Right? And, so anyway... they're going to assign a team, so in my mind, team, as soon as you say team, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be dealing with another 5 more new people, or 25. My mind jumped to 25 new people jumping on board, because everybody's heart is beating at top speed here, because of Amari losing weight, okay? As if mine hasn't been beating. That's all I've been doing is grinding shit in the kitchen, trying to build on this, on his meal program, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's hard. So anyway... so if it comes out sounding legible, I'll add it into this video, and this is just the introduction to that. If it doesn't sound legible, then I'll come back and I'll talk about more in depth what we were talking about as a learning point. Because you just never know when the stork is going to drop a disabled child into your lap. Because that's kind of how it works. Right? And you're either going to look after that child or what? Toss it back to the stork? No. It depends, I suppose, on your situation. So, we know that Amari, let's stay focused, because when I get up tomorrow morning, people, Andre, I don't want to have to overtalk your fucking voice. When I get up tomorrow morning, people, despite everything that's going on right now, I'm going to clear off what little counter space I have. I'm going to bring out my weight scale because, you know, I've been trying. So I'm trying. It's like getting up on the bike. Okay? And I'm going to, again, I haven't quite figured out how to learn to ride it successfully yet. Or back up on the horse. They throw you off, you get back up, right? So I'm back up on that horse, bike, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to have my weight scale on that counter. So that in my daily endeavors, whatever they may be, when it relates to cooking with Amari, cooking for Amari, I am going to make an effort to start weighing out what it is that I'm choosing to use as the staples to build onto his diet, right? While working with a dietitian that, in my mind, is hearing what I'm saying. When I'm saying, you can't just tell me, okay, this is on the fly. Like I pretty much do everything on the fly. It is January 21st of 2025 at 8:30 in the morning. Now, I'm on a mission, okay? Just by the very title of this video. Amari at the Children's Hospital. Everybody has a heart. Everybody, how do I was going to say that? Everybody has a heart of steel. Amari at the Children's Hospital. Everybody has a heart of steel. And if you've been watching my videos, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to that heart of steel. A disabled child. All right? Now, I am not being cocky here, people. I'm a combination of being motivated, highly motivated. Because obviously this video is about Amari. And as soon as this is shit happening, you know everybody's up in arms and, oh, Amari, and they're running at top speed. And okay, so now I've mentioned that Amari's been really skinny, and we know that, right? And I've mentioned what I've been trying to do to deal with that, right? Okay, so now that he's been at the Children's Hospital, to get to the gist of what we're dealing with here, okay, I'm going to put this first, then whatever I did yesterday that my camera blinked out. And then I don't know if what I recorded there while I was there picked up, because I had the camera behind me on the chair to not intimidate people, right? Really. I mean, they know me, right? So I'm just, what are you doing there? I'm like, what is... I can put it right there, but then people, you know, they get, right, just whatever, you know, it's not, I'm not trying to catch anybody in the act, people, because if anybody's being cornered with anything around here, it's me, because Amari's skinny, right? So it must be my fault, right? So it's not pointing fingers, who's to blame, or whatever, it's okay. If I have to do this video in 2 parts, I will. So I'm going to talk about my feelings, where I'm at with it, what happened in a general sense, and then let's just, for a second, let's just listen and see if the camera even picked up and recorded anything, honestly, because I don't know, right? But I will upload it with the video, if not in its own video, for like, as a learning tool, you know, to Amari's cookbook, to Amari's side dish cookbook, right? You know, us caregivers, you know, we go through so many emotions because of the issues that we're faced with. And you can say the same is true with the various teams that work with you on a regular basis over a period of years, right? They have emotions too. right? So before we get too far into it, let's see if we even have anything to hear, because I just put this on a computer. But I haven't listened to it yet, right? But I kind of know what I want to tell you in terms of my end thoughts on where we're going with this issue, situation. I don't want to call it a problem, people, because it's life-related, where it's becomes individualized to the child. Every child has their own special needs with their own procedures, no, not even procedures, with their own needs of care. Okay? And it's not a one-size-fits-all. Like with the hip surgery. There was two choices that I had. I know, we'll get to it in a minute. There were two choices that I had for hip surgery for Amari. One was to basically participate in a global study, because it's still under study, people. One of the reasons that they created the program at the Children's Hospital, where Amari's at right now, is because they incorporated this global study where they do surgery on children like Amari at an earlier age, while their bones can still have the ability to fuse and repair themselves much quicker than as if an adult, right? And of course, they don't remember what happens to them when they're little, so that when they're an adult, maybe they're not so traumatized having to have surgery at a later date. Okay. And there are different programs within that global study where different countries do different main practices to deal with the problems of hip displacement from children like Amari. Okay? Based on he's on the severe end of the cerebral palsy spectrum, where he basically just lays there. But Amari is a little different. He's a little more active and can move, but a lot of these kids, they can't. Right? All right, and with that comes hip displacement over a period of time. So this is what the hip doctors are faced with, okay? So I'm not casting my judgment, or I don't even have an opinion on it yet, other than it's a study, right? And just because it's a study, it doesn't mean that it makes it okay for Amari to be a participant to that procedure, because perhaps, like I said to Dr. Milpuri yesterday, you know, oh, you're the doctor that scares me the most. Why? Well, because you want to cut into my grandson, and that frightens me. And now that we're on the topic, I want you to do hip replacement versus what you've offered me, right? Regardless of whether it's under a study or not, it doesn't matter. There should be options beside cutting off the bone and throwing it in the garbage. And that's exactly how I told him, or said it to him. Because that's how he said it to me. He gave me two choices. You either do this, put him in a cast for 8 months at least, up to a year or more, depending on what happens with those 30% of complications that we've already walked through, right? Or it's eventually just, his hips are just eventually going to pop out, right? And as a surgeon, he won't have no choice but to cut the bone, I guess, and take it out and throw it in the garbage. And the only reason I say throw it in the garbage is because that's the way he said it to me more than once. So I'm just relaying what he said to me, but I don't think they throw it in the garbage. So don't even say that, because that's like money in the bank, at the bone bank. Like, seriously, come on, who do you think you're fucking fooling here, right? So anyway, okay. So I called him on it right off the hop, people. Now, whether it's recorded or not, honestly, I don't know, because I turned off the camera for a little while, because I was like, you know, I'm not trying to be sneaky here or anything. And, you know, we were just sitting in there, everybody ran out, you know, because one comes in, you know, talking with me first, the dietitian, right? And then, you know, they come in and then they, you know, they're looking at him, and you can see that he's underweight. You can see that there's something going on here, right? And because for Andre and I, see, this might go into two parts because this is important, right? In terms of just, if you never know when that stork is going to drop a disabled child into your arms, and you just want to love it and nurture it and raise it and have it, you know, be happy and healthy to the best of that child's ability, right? Don't ever take that for granted. Don't ever think it won't happen to you, because you just don't know. And that's the point of why I'm doing these videos, for those that should happen to become caregivers, whether you birth the child and it comes out injured, or whether what happens, like what happened with Amari when he came into my care. All right, so I said to the hip doctor, right, you know, there's got to be an alternative. You can't treat Amari as a one-size-fit-all. I want hip surgery. And I had spoken to a woman before he showed up about that, and I told her I came across a study when this all came up back in the past, right, a long time ago, where they did do hip replacement on people with cerebral palsy that couldn't walk and were stationary. Okay? Just because of where the brain was damaged. But they were older. I think they were like in their 20s or something. They weren't full, like they weren't older adults, but they were in the middle line. They weren't children. I don't think they were necessarily teenagers, as they were 19, 20, up until maybe age 25, in around that age group. That's if I remember correctly. And they did X amount of surgeries, because they said that to do a hip surgery for somebody that is stationary and can't move, there's a higher probability that the patient will die. So therefore, they didn't do it, you know, in like older times, right? It wasn't when the technology wasn't advanced, okay? But this study came about, those surgeries were done, and it turned out that the mortality rate was actually better, and the patients did well with recovery. You see, that's the thing. They did well, people, with the recovery. And you bring in the proper type of therapy and all that crap, because they can't, whatever, either or, it's just, I'm like, that's it. If we're going to do hip surgery, and they've already done it on people like Amari, then there's got to be somebody out there that can do it on Amari, besides what I'm being offered. So that's the perspective I'm coming in with. I am convinced it can be done under the right circumstances with the right surgeon, which I think in Amari's situation, and even Andre agrees with me, he'd have a better chance of recuperating from the surgery, people. All right. He goes, oh, you know, the statistics no good, you know, it's a higher mortality rate, and, you know, and blah, 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 and then, but now the bee's in his bonnet, right? Over a course of, as we discussed this, you know, he mentioned that there's nobody in BC that can do it. And I said, well, I know that. You have to go find some, I don't know if I told him to go find somebody that can do it, but I said, I do realize that, right? Because, you know, that was like, who could do that? The woman is asking who could do that. There's nobody in BC that could do that. And if, you know, and then his brain reached out on the global level, thinking of some doctor that stands out in his mind that has done that. Then he tried to say that there was no doctor that ever did that, but then he thought about it, and I guess he kind of changed his mind and said that there might be a couple of doctors, but God forbid, they're so far away, you know, in terms of like, you know, like, it's sure, as if we're going to get them into BC to do that for Amari. Either or. He's thinking about it now, people, because I told him, like, you know, blah, 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 blah. I told him that I don't, you know, even Andre agrees, whatever you're offering us, because it's not a one-size-fit-all. I don't think Amari fits what you're offering. And if the only other alternative is bone in a garbage, well, then I guess we have to take our chances until the right decision is made for Amari. Okay, this is before everything else is coming, okay? Because that's why we're here, is to talk about his hips, right? And so, okay, And then, you know, he goes, looks at Amari, and because, okay, I don't know how to say it other than after people started examining him, because when you go to the hip doctor as a child, they want to spread your legs like this, as if you were an infant. And then they measure to see, right, how much, I don't know what to call it, mobility they have, you know, where they, right, to determine, I suppose, how the hip socket and all that's working, right? And because children with cerebral palsy, if one side of the body isn't pulling constantly, the other side that works is throwing over. So then they become crisscrossed, and over that time, right, the hips start to come out. And that was the purpose to have this hip surgery, to which Dr. Mel Prairie, he wanted to do them 6 months ago, but I canceled out on the surgery. Because, you know, there was, first of all, no obligation, right? And two, I just felt that we weren't ready for it. And so he was okay with that. But within that 6-month period, or whatever the hell it was, he's lost a lot of weight. We know that. We know what I've been trying to do to increase his weight, but it's not working yet. I'm still facing constipation, but we have a solution on that, and I'm just going to build in their solution and continue working on my solution. But now I actually have I don't want to say it like this, people, but I have a more, well, I was going to say a real dietitian. I didn't want to, I dropped the word real, and I would prefer to replace it with, I have an assigned dietitian that is willing to work with me with recipes where I can build in a higher calorie count into his menu, right? And in combination with what I'm doing. All right. And I'm excited for that, because that's what I need. Because when I was at this meeting, and you know, I go on the attack, people, like, you know me, right? And like, you know, she's like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, yeah. And then, you know, like I'm like, you know, what kind of foods do you feed him? And I'm like, well, I'm working on this and blah blah blah, and you know, and then, you know, she asked me something, and she said beans. I'll just give you an example. She asked me something, or something, and I asked her, well, where do you get this protein from? Even though it's just simple food groups, but what's on your mind? She goes, beans. And I'm like, yeah, okay, beans. Well, and then I'm thinking of cantatelli beans, and I'm rattling off that they're the ones that are the easiest to digest, right? And not only are they easiest to digest, but they release their energy slow into the blood, which helps to control diabetes from either starting, right, to prevent it from even starting, and or to level it out, control it. The problem with cantatelli beans, though, is they're like a food suppressant, because they make your body think it's full, because they're digested slowly, which could be dangerous for Amari. For all its benefits that he needs, there's that little teeny weeny factor in there that if you give him too many cantatelli beans, you might make him think you might make his body think that he's full, and he won't want to eat as much as he should, because of the slow release of the energy and whatever the sugars in the beans themselves, which is the best thing for him to regulate his body, to help regulate it, right? It's kind of counterintuitive, where you're actually setting him up to lose weight. But for somebody that's overweight, whether they have cerebral palsy or not, that's a food. That's a superfood, people, that you want in your diet where you learn to incorporate it, you know, in reasonable amounts throughout the week. We'll just say we'll take it from week to week. You know, work for 1 week, right? And how many times can you feed a person cantatelli beans in 1 week, kind of thing, right? Now, if they're losing weight, well, obviously more. If you want them to lose weight because you don't want them to become diabetic, then you feed them more, right? And they feel satisfied because their food, their body is happy with feeling full, as it still has a fair amount of energy, right? Whereas with Amari, you feed him too much, he'll stop eating other foods where chicken is important to him, and therefore he'll start to lose weight. So there's a fine line in there. So as she's mentioning beans to me, I'm thinking, not that I'm a guru, because I don't know shit. I don't even know, honestly. Okay, I'm going to figure it out though, right? I'm gonna fucking figure it out. So I go into offense mode. I wasn't in a defense, I was in offense. Well, you do realize beans do this, this, and this, but I got Cantatelli beans, and now that we're talking about it, well, how much do you think I should give him, being that if I give him too much, he'll lose fucking weight because he's satisfied and he won't want to eat other food? That's where my headspace is at. That's been my battle. And she said something about, the feeding team at the wherever over there, right? And I mean, yeah, well, they just tell me to give them butter. That doesn't help. I could have said that too. What I need is, we've got the beans, and this is where I'm happy that I have a dietitian, quote unquote, assigned to me to start tweaking Amari's diet with real food, being that he can eat. And this woman, I guess, she purees up food, chicken, whatever, and it somehow, or like she gives recipe, I don't know what she does, but she creates food where it can be all pureed together and then put into a feeding tube for these children that are, I guess, stationary people with their cerebral palsy symptoms. And they can't eat like Amari. So therefore the food has to go into a feeding tube. And I'm like, oh no, Amari loves to eat. He lives to eat. He wants to eat. Right? He enjoys eating. And I want to keep that for him. But I don't know, and I told her, I don't know how much, when, how many times are we looking at larger meals or smaller meals? Should I go 3 larger meals, maybe 2 or 3 smaller? Like, you can only stuff so much inside of him, people, before either it won't come out because he gets constipated, or, right, which can put him into a seizure. And you don't know when it's coming because you can't stop feeding him even though he may be constipated. It gets frightening. Or what if he's the type of child that will eat and 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 eat even though they're freaking full, and then end up having it come out? Because some children are like that. I'm not too sure about with Amari yet, because I give him larger meals now, but smaller meals, the smaller meals, obviously I can give him more, but I don't want to overstress his stomach with too much food, because it takes X amount of time for it to start digesting in the gut. But you have to make sure that the gut flora can do that. For all we know, we're dealing with something that's in the gut itself that's not digesting the food properly, where he can absorb it, never mind gain weight from it. Right? There's like so many variables in there. And being that he's an individual child, he should be treated as an individual. Whether it's hip surgery with more choices, or when it gets to this point, an assigned dietitian that can help you to build in a meal program where he's getting the right amount of calories with the right amount of food. So it's not about just filling him up with chicken to get those calories. I'll just use that as an example, right? It's about how much chicken in combination with other foods that are easier to digest than chicken, but will have less calories, but other nutrients that his body needs, and this is what I've been working on. So what did I do when I got home last night? Fuck it, I'm buying more asparagus. I got chicken in my fridge, Mrs. Gill. I'm gonna cook my chicken up for my grandson and can my freaking bone broth that's been sitting in my fridge for 3 fucking days. And I'm gonna start another chicken with some bone broth. Even though there's not a lot of calories in that chicken bone broth, there's other nutrients in there that his body needs, especially his collagen. Okay? This is the kind of shit that I think about on a daily boo-boo basis. And it makes me angry, especially when I got the whip on my back with the city of Surrey robbing my shit. And that's just the reality of it. I am not delusional, as my landlord's son, would suggest. I live in the real world. All right. So, obviously, in that room with all these buzzards, Tisha doesn't want me to call them witches anymore. Because I don't know if you'll hear it on camera. I mentioned to her, she said, what do you got that camera on for? And I'm like, well, you know, you're dealing with the witches, right? Or what? Oh, why do you call people, you put people on defense with calling them witches? I said, well, whatever, Tisha. Well, fuck, I'm the baddest, biggest fucking witch on the block here. I'm the mama nana. I'm an experienced mama bear. Because I'm a nana now. Yeah, and you throw in that fucking witch factor? Oh my God. Don't mess with Mama Nana. You're in trouble. She going down swinging. These people know it. They know I love my grandson. Okay? But I'm not there to fight. You see, that's the thing. I'm there to pick their brains for information so that I can fine-tune a freaking menu for my grandson. Seriously, people. Where that the next caregiver has it in black and white and will be able to carry on and give him the things that he needs through food. For the most part, right? In terms of, you know, I mean, like, you want me to use this Emilax crap. That is not food, but it helps with the food. But, you know, we have to think about the gut itself and how it's digested. Okay, so anyway, they assign me a dietitian to start putting together. She's going to send me 3 recipes. And out of the kindness of my heart and being grateful for what she's doing for me, I am going to go out of my way and make 3 side dishes recipes with calories included into that, right? So that we get a fairly good estimate in terms of the calorie count for what I create with those 3 separate recipes for a child with cerebral palsy that can eat pureed food. So that she can pass on those 3 recipes to another family, to which it will be copyrighted under Amari side dish. I'll just put a little copyrights Amari side dish. No, I'm not looking for nothing, but, you know, let's be real. That's where it came from. And if and when I ever am successful at, what do you call that, actually making a book, and I was to use this woman's recipe, I'd put at copyright Children's Hospital, BC, Canada. But I'm so far away from writing a book that, you know, I think it would be good, though, to send her something in return so that she can print that out or send it to another family that has a child like Amari who does like to eat, but they're struggling with the foods that they're feeding them because it's difficult, right? In terms of pureeing it and then matching it up where you've got a high calorie count with a good nutritional value. Yeah. And then not factoring in having it be affordable. Yep. So we've got the assigned dietitian, which I'm really excited to. Well, she sent me something before, but it was just general information that I hadn't already read everywhere else. That's in my brain, that's flying around like frickin', you know, whatever, dopamine, and just sparking here and sparking there, because it you know, it gets so overwhelming, and you gather up all this information, and you know, you're drawn on this and drawn on this, and then you get the red flags. Well, if you give him too many cantatelli beans, he won't want to eat because he won't be hungry. Because that's what the beans do. That's what makes them so valuable for people wanting to lose weight, right? Or to prevent diabetes, or to control diabetes, right? So Cantatelli beans is the top of my... is this woman thinking about that? No, but I got a box of 50 pounds. I bought 50 pounds more of Cantatelli beans that have been sitting right there in my hall in the original box for a month. Because I have to bag them up into Mylar bags, and I really have no place to put them except into my room after I clear off my bed of more fabric, because I can't take them downstairs, but I need them. I need them for Amari, so I bought them just as backup, because kidney beans are different. They react different, that's just Cantatelli beans are the best. And I suppose you could use Great Northern white beans as a substitute, right? It's right, and I have them as well. I have them organic and just regular, off the farms, 100-pound bag, right, which is a little cheaper than organic. It all boils down to all those things that I'm talking about. And of course, my mind is going a million miles a minute, and I'm feeling defensive because I know that everybody's noticing that Amari is extremely skinny and something's going on here, right? And right. So with Doctor, I mean, obviously he noticed it, and he got concerned because, in a nutshell, and I'm trying to just get to the main points, right? Basically what he said is he did acknowledge that he was glad that we didn't do the surgery when he thought it was okay to do it, which was about 6 months ago, all right, because of Amari's weight at that time. In other words, he felt that at Amari's weight, through major surgery, right, he would have survived it. But he also would have been in a cast. We'll put it from 6 months to a year. I was told 8 to a year. But I have heard Dr. Marpuri in the past say 6 months, so maybe some children recuperate faster. So we'll be fair about it. We'll say from 6 months to a year for a child to be like this as he's healing from that surgery. I just don't think Amari would survive that, people. There's too many complications with the pooing. His back is curved. If you're trying to prevent pain, obviously you're going to create pain just by the very fact of what you're doing to try and heal what you did for the purpose of stopping pain. And it would also create lifelong pain in the back, because I already know what happened with Uncle John with his purse disease like that for 2 years. Uncle John was spread eagle like that in a hospital, I guess, or at home or wherever, for 2 years because he had purse disease, and that was something to do with the hips, and that was the only way to correct it at that time under those circumstances. But what developed was severe back issues, back pain. It was lifelong, never left him. And with the way Mari's back is, because it's curved, right? And then pooing, oh my God, people. It'd be a nightmare. It'd be a fucking nightmare. And you know me, people, I want him to be happy and free. Have his little time being the Houdini baby that he is, or whatever. It's always going to be hard for him to, So anyway, okay, so, but now, in hindsight, Dr. Marpuri is saying, yeah, and I'm glad I didn't do it, because with him like this, there's no way he could be like that in the fucking cast. And nobody knows why. Outside of. Right? Give him more drinks. Give him 8 of them. Put him on a feeding tube now. Yeah, you're going to put him on a feeding tube with 8 of those supplemental drinks, because he won't eat. And you're going to put on a poop bag, because he won't be able to poo. Do you see the vision I have in front of me? Because I didn't feel Amari was ready for it, people. Right? I mean, I've always been told that he has to have it. But I also have been told by people that have been through it to put it off for as long as you can. And Dr. Milpuri has never said I've had to do it, but he gave me the alternative with the cut bone in the garbage can. And considering what I just said, blah, 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 that might be the better option, long term. But then what happens is, if you go that route, because I asked him, what happens if you end up having to cut it, and that's it? He goes, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know exactly. He didn't get into details with it. But he did say that they have a more tendency to develop scoliosis. Amari, he doesn't really have that yet, except for maybe a mild form, but it's different. His back is like, and he was born, like his back was broken. I feel like his back has always been broken, people, since the time he was born. But besides that point, people live that way, and if that's the way it has to go for Amari, maybe it is. I don't know, because the doctor is now saying he's glad he didn't do the surgery, because if this would have happened like that when Amari was in those braces for that healing period, which he'd still be in them, and if Amari was in the state that he was in, we'd be in more trouble. Oh yeah. Where here, right now, Amari is active, really doesn't show any pain because he moves, he stands on his knees, he's standing on his freaking foot, he's flipping himself over, he pulls, he's sitting, he shimmies, and there's no crying out in pain. He cries out in pain if the poo is coming and it's stuck, right, or whatever, like we just went through, and that provoked a seizure when we ended up to the children's hospital because of the pain, with the poo being flushed out with the bacteria of the, you know, the flu or whatever we had in the house, and you get the diarrhea, whoosh, and it pushed out the poo, and through that process, it came out his anus so fast that it hurt him, and which brought on the seizure. Like, come on, man. Can you see all that shit happening with him like this? Skinny as a skeleton? By the time he pooped out all whatever was stuck inside of him, people, which were some of those drinks, because I was giving him one here, one there, to test the waters to see if I could, you know, to still kind of give it to him without the ramifications around it. He looked like a fucking skeleton. I'm blind, but I'm not that blind, people, okay? I can still look people in the eye. But what am I supposed to do? So, like I said, you know, okay, just keep feeding him. You know you're going to go to the children's hospital pretty soon. Sooner or later, people are going to say something. You were just at the Surrey Memorial Hospital. Let the nurse know. Oh, I know he's... I know, yeah. Well, because, you know, I'm on it, people. And I knew I was going to children's hospital. And it's just a matter of time. But I get defensive with it, though, because, you know, I'm not feeding him enough? Or I'm doing something wrong? It's you. Oh, my God. Okay. So he agreed that we made the right decision. Because I said no. He said, okay, no obligations. We'll deal with it when that next time comes. But you do realize his hip is coming out more and more and more. I said, okay. What can you do? You just have to wait. You just have to wait. That's where that heart of steel comes in. So I take Amari to the children's hospital, and then, you know, I said everybody starts poking around trying to measure him. He's not wanting to spread his legs. They can see that he's lost weight. They can see that his hips have come out more. I'm not sure if he's at the point. I think Dr. Milpuri did say he needs the surgery now, because maybe the hip has already come out. Well, no, it hasn't come out yet, because if it fully came out, the ligaments would pull more and he'd cry. And because he's lost the weight, I don't know what ligaments are, but maybe what I'm looking at when I see shit, maybe that's the ligaments that they're talking about. The point is he said that he needs the surgery now based on the x-rays and the mobility of what's going on, right? Even though he moves around like a mad Dickens when he's home. And he was even moving around there on the table after it was all said and done, giggling and laughing and getting everybody to calm down and breathe and relax, that he was happy and healthy, right? And fine. Because he knew he was going to go home And they were talking, okay, so I'll get to that. So we both agreed that the right decision was made, because God forbid, people, if he did that surgery and this shit happened, it would be a medical emergency based on how is he supposed to poo when you can't even get him to eat. In comes the feeding tube, in comes the poop tube, in comes the pain medication, who knows? And that's not no life for Amari, okay? Because there are no guarantees. So, he's not going to do hip surgery because Amari is too underweight. Now, we went to the urologist. He said he can do the circumcision. It's a 10-day healing period. 10-day healing period. His testicle, I think it was the left one, is up high, wherever. So really the best, forget about trying to milk it or whatever. The best method is to do the surgery, bring them down and tie them so that they stay. And it's a suture that lasts for life, apparently. It's a one-time thing. He booked for surgery, but based on what Dr. Malpuri said, he's not, forget that. That's not happening right now, okay? Because maybe he won't even survive that surgery because of his weight, right? I have cream here to try and soften the foreskin, to try and, so I will pick up with that and follow up with that until we know more with what we're doing with trying to build up Amari's weight, right? So that surgery will be canceled in light of what happened with Dr. Malpuri, the hip doctor. All right. And, so I'm talking, to this person, that person, and these women are swarming over him and they're measuring him, and and they're talking to him, and he was actually really copacetic about it, right? Really quite copacetic about it. And then they assigned I don't know, they called it some kind of team. And in my mind, I went into panic mode and envisioned 25 people jumping on the bandwagon. Not 25, but maybe 4 or 5 more or something. More than 1 or 2, that's for sure. When you say team, you think larger numbers. And I'm like, oh my God, like is this, like, how serious? I mean, I know, right? Like, he's laughing, he's moving around, like, you guys are acting like he's fucking dying here. Not that I can't see that there's something wrong, but besides that point, and I'm like, that's all I need is 5 more people, 7 more people as a team jumping on this bandwagon. And of course, if I said no, that would make me look negligent, right? Like as if I was trying to deny healthcare. Not that I would say no to something like that, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's more brains to pick. That's all I'm thinking, because I'm on a mission to fatten them up. Right? So I was there first. Like I said, I'm the mama nana. You know what I'm saying? I'm the nana bear, right? Like I was on the scene first, right? You're just coming into it. So that's more brains to pick to try and figure out how I can fatten them up. Even though I don't know what kind team is signing on, because they said it turned out it's just 1 doctor and 1 nurse. Because I asked them, well, what's this team and what do they do? Because, like, everybody's in emergency mode. Everybody's in that panic mode with their hearts going like this because, they work with these types of kids all the time. And it's like Dr. Malpuri has said to me after it was pretty much all said and done. I'm talking fast, I know, right? But when you get to because they weighed him, they did their measurements. He lost, I don't know how many pounds. 5 or 10 pounds since he's been there. And he's only, I think, 31 pounds or 32 pounds. Yeah. But he moves around like a mad Dickens. And he's strong. Go figure. So, and because of that, they signed the team. So now he's got a doctor, another doctor, and a nurse, who's, I suppose, like that dietitian are more involved with trying to determine the root cause of why Amari's maybe not gaining weight. That's because I'm there picking their brain. I want to know what the root cause is. Is it the medication, the seizure medication that he started 2 years ago? That is something to think about, because there are side effects to these things, you know. I took these pills from whatever. I mentioned it to the dietitian, whatever. No, whatever. I'm not using these right now. I'm looking for my chamomile tea. My chamomile tea. I'm going to give that for muscle relaxant versus this, because this wasn't encouraged, and not that I would want to use it anyway. Because I gave the symptom of him doing his whatever he does as in terms of a body spasm, which that helps with tone, that tightness, right? Especially on the right side of his body. So it was determined that I was informed that it was just a doctor and a nurse. So my guard went down, and I think, okay, that's better than 7 people. That's better than 5 people. 2 people I can deal with, a doctor and a nurse, who are there to help you to figure out basically why Amari is maybe not gaining weight, or what can be done to help him to gain weight, outside of turning it into an emergency right now, rushing him to the emergency ward and hooking him up to a feeding tube. And then whatever, when the boy himself likes to eat. You see, that's the thing. So, of course, I'll be like, yeah, okay, when I meet them, I suppose I'll have to go to the children's hospital. That's more appointments, but that's okay, because I've decided, this is what I've decided, people. I don't care what people think or say or do or whatever. It's none of your fucking business for the bitches in the hood that are, I don't know. Oh, you know I got a lot of junk. Whatever that junk is. But one man's junk is another man's treasure. So, I think next time I go to the children's hospital, I'm going to have 2 bags full of stuff. Little children's toys. I don't know what to do. Maybe a doll. Where's that doll? I got little dolls around. I'll clean them up. Maybe I'll put in a doll or so. Whatever. Books. Maybe books for the Nana bears, the mama bears, the papa bears, you know what I'm saying? The foster care bears. I think one woman that I seen was a foster care woman looking after a disabled child that was really teeny tiny, but she could walk, but clearly she had a genetic issue. And of course, along came the health issues around that. The woman was very tall and heavy set, but just a bundle of love for that child. A bundle of warmth for that child. I didn't feel like she was the mother to the child, but as a caregiver like me to that child, as if I am to Amari. And then I seen another parent there with their little baby, right, sucking on a bottle, looking, and it brought me back to when I was there with Amari. You don't know what's coming, you just know that something's wrong. And I could feel her, I don't want to call it fear, trepidation. I could feel her trepidation of the unknown. And then I heard another child that clearly had cerebral palsy, because that child sounded exactly like Amari, when Amari is in fear. Whether it's the vacuum running, or going and having a bath with the water running. This is, right? Because they sound different, and they speak different. Oh my God. And I'm like, is that Amari? Well, no, Amari's right there. Or Amari's getting that. Like, who's that? That sounds like Amari. It sounded exactly like. So I pinpointed it down to clearly it must have been a father with their child in a buggy. And versus picking up the child and consoling the child, they left the child in the buggy and then went out into the hall because the child was crying in fear, people, because I know the sounds, because I have Amari and I've been through it. And I'm thinking, and I'm thinking about the parent who was a male, right? So it must have been the father, right? Right? Where his coping skills were at. Because you knew he loved his child because he was there. With his heart going like this. So I'm like beating with everybody's heart. Some are going like this. That man with his child crying and can't shut him up because he didn't feel like he could pick him up and console him. Because that would have been the only way. And even then, we don't know what triggered that child hollering out outside of, maybe it was a noise, because that's all it takes to get these children hollering like that. Certain sounds. That's why it's difficult to have Amari go to school, because anything that could, anything could trigger in terms of sounds. Amari. So, you have to walk lightly with this shit. So, okay. Right? And then other parents. So everybody's got their own heartbeat. Where I'm like, right? You know what I mean? Knowing I'm going into a battlefield over Amari's hips as I'm being criticized that he's underweight. Because I've been so used to having the finger pointed at me that I automatically take the responsibility for it, because I couldn't produce the Amazon that they wanted me to produce when they started telling me, give him drinks, do this, or give him butter, or whatever, give him surgery. Well, we're glad we didn't give him surgery. Right? So now I have a doctor and a nurse that can help me to either figure out if he's digesting his food properly, because okay, this is how my mind is working. Okay, so this is this video. Whatever's over there, I guess is the next video, because this is basically what happened and what's going to happen. So I get home after doing all this with these people. I'll get back to being in the room as well. And I go online because, like I said, it's easy for them to talk, and then we come home and we deal with it. So I get online at some point. I ordered the asparagus because he's constipated, whatever, right? Because, okay, we're working on it, right? It's the easiest to digest, very nutritional. We've got the chicken, we've got the chicken bone broth, right? I've got kale. I ordered more bok choy, and then I ordered yogurt at a higher fat percent content than what I have in the fridge when he ended up with the seizure, and I got all panicky. And I'm thinking, because I'm reading, okay, he has an upset stomach, he had the flu. I have to introduce foods that aren't going to upset his stomach. They said no, low fat foods, 0% yogurt, 0% sour cream, stay away from your chicken fat skins and all this crap, and oils and butter and whatever. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm on that little bandwagon for a short little period of time. But then we also know that if I take away the fat, it doesn't put on the weight. So, right? But I've been giving him, okay, a little bit here, not as much. Like he ate the yogurt, the 0% fat yogurt. That's not a problem. So I went on Walmart yesterday and I bought a 6% fat, 0% plain yogurt, and a 4% fat, 4% plain plain yogurt to increase the fat content. I've already been giving him chicken with brown meat and a little bit of skin with it for the fat. Right? We've got the bone broth. I gave him some butter yesterday with the bone broth. So what I'm saying is, and this is where I'm happy that I have these people helping me to think, to isolate where the gut problem is. Okay? Is he allergic to fat? I don't want to say allergic to fat, but can he digest fat easily and absorb the nutrients from it while he's digesting it? Or is he a better candidate to have less fat in terms of animal fat, I suppose, regardless of where it comes from, and try and find, I don't know, that fat in other foods? And where would you find it? From a soybean? I'm just saying, right? Because of the way his gut is, and I'll just use Kyrie as an example. Kyrie is the opposite of Amari. Kyrie cannot digest food where he has a normal stool. Tisha thinks it's just directly related to being lactose intolerant because Alex is that way. But it's probably more than that, because now Kyrie hasn't been wanting to eat. And, you know, he's barely drinking. Well, he's drinking, but he's been puking, and he doesn't really want to eat. And he's been asking Tisha to pick him up for the last 2 weeks because his legs hurt. And because he's not eating, he hasn't really been pooing. And of course, you know, he look right. So, you know, she's going to take him to the hospital. But even Tisha and I have been talking about trying to start a little diet for Kyrie based on the history of Kyrie's bowel problems, which once a bowel problem is determined to be a medical problem that has a medical diagnosis, maybe that's what we're dealing with Amari. There's a medical diagnosis where maybe Amari has a certain enzyme or something. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know. This is where these other two people will probably come in handy because they have more knowledge as to what disrupts the absorption of nutrients or whatever, because maybe, you know, this dietitian in myself, I mean, there's too many variables in here, right? The dietitian and myself, we're going to team up to try and increase the calorie count. When I said 2,500 calories, that's what those witches over there want from me. She goes, 2,500 calories? I said, I know. How am I going to stuff 2,500 calories in him? That's too much. And if that's the case, how do I do it? How many meals do I have to give to him a day? You right? She couldn't even answer that question. And based on his weight, there's only so much you can put inside of him. Right? You know what I mean? And now, like, right. So now we've got a doctor and a nurse that have, I guess, a broader knowledge as to, I don't know. I won't know until I talk to them and see what they offer me, people. But by the time I get to them, whenever that happens, I'm going to have some shit written down. I'm clearing off my counter between today and tomorrow. The whole counter. I'm bringing out my scale. I'm putting it right there. I'm going to get a scrapbook so I can write and weigh and blah and type. And I'm going to sit and I'm going to type so that next time I come into contact with this particular group of people, regardless from what department that they're working in, I'm going to say, here, this is from Amari's cookbook. This is what I've been feeding him. This is the calorie count, approximately. This is the vitamins that I so far have isolated down to. He's getting this with, you know, I don't know, you know, meat has certain kind of calories, nutrients that you can't get anywhere else, really, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that those are key nutrients that are important to have, as well as they also don't provide other fucking nutrients that other things have. So, you know, I'll just have a little kind of a guesstimate of, well, blah, and I'll shoot for at least 1,500 calories a day, but he needs probably more than that, right? But you shouldn't have to rely on a supplemental drink, especially if it's not conducive for that particular child, where they can digest it, because perhaps we're dealing with a digestive problem, and that's, you know, hasn't been determined yet as to why he's not absorbing the food that he is, like the nutrients, and putting on the body weight, right? It could be gut related, as it's traveling through the tracts. And because he was on those drinks for so long, his gut flora isn't working correctly. To which, when I was talking to the urologist about, you know, the circumcision, and we brought up that subject. Hold on a minute. Okay, honestly, I don't remember what I was talking about because I got so much on my mind. Amari came back with a fever. Go figure. Advil. Yeah, from being moved around and manhandled. Right? Because it's hard on him, right? And then Tisha had him in the car seat, and maybe it was too tight or something because he was kind of fussing on the way back, and I had to have her stop and loosen something, right? But I don't know. He has a fever. I don't know if they give him something to calm him down or something, you know, to just, because, you know, they're doing things that he's not used to so they can get their measurements and all this crap. Or if it's just the stress of what he just went through, right, that is making the fever come. You can't call it coincidence, right? Either or. He's constipated. It was just whatever. So I'm giving him some Advil. It started when we got home from the hospital, the fever. Go figure. And it's still there. So I took off his shirt. And the little fussy, he's getting some ginger ale. And prior to, I don't know what I was talking about. All I know is I have a doctor and a nurse, hopefully helping me to figure out if Amari's allergic to the medicine that he's receiving when it comes to the seizure medication. Is he allergic to milk products and maybe not digesting them properly? So it doesn't matter if you give them low fat, high fat. It wouldn't matter because it would interrupt that ability for the body to absorb the nutrients as it's traveling through the intestinal tract and this tract and the upper, you know, the stomach. First it gets in the mouth and then into the esophagus, then into the stomach, and then it goes into the smaller intestines, and then I think it goes into the larger intestines, and there's still one more little thing in there in between the two, three of them, whatever, that it has to go through to feed the liver and, you know, right? And just, right? That's what I'm thinking of, right? I don't know. Oh my God. I'll be back. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I'm listening to this. It does sound like it picked up something. I hear Amari with that getting his panicky sound, as we were just, I guess, been in the room for a while and we were just starting with the process, and he was stressed out. And I could hear it in his voice. Let's see if I can turn this, and you'll listen. Okay? So, you know, the whole situation stressed him out. So, does stress bring on fevers? I don't know, because he didn't have a fever yesterday, but he's got one now, and it started when we got home. Seems a little convenient, don't you think?
Yeah, I gave him a sip of ginger ale.
Okay.
Or do you want me to give him the whole?
Well, I want you to give it to him, but I want it completely defizzed. Because if it's not completely defizzed, it will make him burp, and then, yeah. We don't want anything coming out. We want whatever. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe let him have like a third of the bottle and then ask him for it back instead of grabbing it. Say, give me the bottle. Take the bottle from him. Sit him up. Let him have a little burp, right? You know what I'm saying? And then give him back his bottle versus letting him drink the whole bottle. Because if he drinks that ginger ale the way it is right now, he will end up developing a massive burp. Because it's ginger ale, even though it's defizzed. But it's new. That's why. So did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Okay. So let him drink a third of it if he wants it. And then after he's done that, give him a chance to burp it out, and then let him have some more.
Go and drink half of it.
Oh, well, there you go. No, let him burp that out first before he gets the other half.
And I just noticed something.
What did you notice?
I left the computer on, right?
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm recording this, so just...
Oh, my bad then.
I think I'm recording it.
No.
Yeah, it's recorded. Okay, quiet. Okay, so we're going to listen to Amari being stressed out just as we were going into the appointment with the hip doctor. And we had already been to the urologist. And Amari gets upset with his little heart going like this as soon as he sees those examining beds. It doesn't matter if it's at the Child Development Center with the feeding team. It doesn't matter if it's at the pediatrician going for an examination. It doesn't matter if it's at the children's hospital. It doesn't matter, right? And he also had an x-ray. So, and he was fussing and starting to cry in the x-ray. Tisha said it was just talking. Either or, he was getting upset. So Amari's heart, you know, his little heart of steel was going on for quite a while, all right? So that could very well bring on a fever, people, because he has a fever now, and it started last night after coming home from the children's hospital. All right. And you can hear that he's fussing on this bed. He's just fussing.
Before we get started, we have someone from our research department who would like to speak to you. Would you like to speak to them? Are you comfortable speaking with them today? No problem. That's all good. Like I said, I just have to ask. Okay. Thank you. That's perfect. No problem.
Now, Nana doesn't want to sign you up to no studies. No research studies for Amari.
Notice, I started talking to Amari, said his name, and soon after he started to whine. So he's communicating with me here, people.
No.
Okay, did you hear that sound? That is the sound times 50. That is the sound times 50 in terms of that child that I heard in duress with his dad rushing him out of there because the child was crying, right? Well, not crying. That's not really crying. It's kind of like crying, but it's more like a hollering out in fear, because I've heard it with Amari here with the vacuum or with the water running in the bathtub or whatever, right? Here, Amari's fearful. That's the sound that I heard with that father. Only his child was 50 times more higher in octave in terms of that fear level, right? So, is that bringing on a fever without any of us realizing? Because something triggered a fever from the time we got into the hospital, because he didn't have one when we went in, but he had one when we got home. So what created the fever? Could that create a fever? Yeah, I think so. Because the whole time.
No. Sorry.
Mama?
Yeah? Mom, why you came back? I've been watching something else.
Let's put this here.
Yeah, I was going to put it on the table and just leave it there.
Whatever, I'll put it right here.
And then Tisha started bitching on me. And I said, whatever, then I'll put it on the fucking chair. Like, shit, man. I've had my camera there before. So what?
Now, Nana doesn't want to sign you up to no studies.
Listen,
No research studies for Amari. No.
that's him being scared. That's the sound that I heard from the child that was in the stroller, with their father pushing the stroller with his heart of steel. So if I do pack up a bag of miscellaneous whatever, just because, and I take it there to hand out to a couple of parents or whoever that have children, regardless of what the children's issues are, as long as the toy is basically age appropriate, then, you know, or maybe give a cookbook to a mom or a foster caregiver or an aunt or a grandma. We don't know, right? Who these people are. I'm just saying, people. You know, a nana. Right? Here's a book. Well, what do you mean? That's okay. It's, you know, I work on a foundation. It comes from Amari's side dish cookbook. Well, where's the book? Well, it hasn't been written yet. We're in the process of writing it. But for now, here, take this. Just to calm that heartbeat. Because everybody's going like this, ready to spring to action at any minute. So I'm thinking about that. Because I don't know what to do with all this shit around here. I think, well, sure, you'll sell it, but some of it, I don't know. I suppose if I sold it real cheap and big bulk, you know, I might get a little something for it. But if, you know, like, for what it's worth, some of this stuff can just be slowly but surely, you know, given away. I have a lot of craft stuff here. It's nothing for me to start going through these boxes. Even if I gave away half of it, right? That would be helpful over a period of time, I'm saying. Not all at one time, and I could do it all at one time, but you know, I think it would be more beneficial to break this stuff up into nice little bags. You know, put boy, girl, basically, or whatever, age 2 to 5, from, you know, depending on what it is, right, in terms of crafts, you know, so that they get to go home with their mummies and daddies and aunties and, you know, their uncles and their grandmas and their grandpas and their caregivers, whoever those caregivers are, because not everybody has family when these children are this way. So you have to factor that in, and, you know, yeah. So we'll see how that develops. Let's just listen to this for a minute.
Well, sorry,
Mama? Yes? Mom, why you came that? I've been watching.
Is he sitting kind of somewhat up?
Say what?
Is he sitting somewhat kind of up? So he could burp?
Kind of.
Well, sit him up a bit more and let him have the rest of his pop now. And then keep an eye on him and make sure he sits up so the burp can come up after he's done. Because what's important now is that he doesn't get dehydrated with the fever. Okay? Okay.
just put this here.
Huh?
Just recording conversation.
Oh my god, Mom, put that away, please.
Oh my God, Mom, put that away, please.
Whatever, I'll put it right here.
Whatever, I'll put it right here, so I just put it on my seat. I had it on the desk, on the table. Wasn't like I was trying to hide it, right? Tisha was just ragging me over it.
Just because I wanted,
Just because I want it, right? Because, you know, we know what I'm working on when it comes to building in a meal program, right? And we know that I'm looking for alternatives when it comes to hip surgery, even though I'm being told that hip replacement isn't an option for Amari. But then yet at the same time, the hip doctor is going globally thinking, if it was, who could possibly do it, in terms of, they're not in Canada. A doctor that could do something like that is definitely not in Canada. He'd have to go outside of Canada and contact that doctor and have that doctor come here to do it. At least he's thinking about it. Right? That's the impression he gave me. So, you know, it's like, well, you know, who would do it? Like, there's only so many, a handful, 2 or 3 that could possibly even do it.
It'll probably be real short and sweet anyway.
Oh my God.
So I'm thinking is going to be short and sweet. No. Short and sweet in the fact that they couldn't operate on him. We weren't going to talk about operating on him. Because even if the doctor wanted to operate on him, like the way he is right now, being underweight, I would have said no. I would have taken my chances with his hips popping out. Okay? You see, that's the thing. So maybe that's why I put on the camera, because, you know, I wanted to have it documented where I'm trying to be as respectful as I can to you, telling you my reasons why I wouldn't want surgery for him if he really highly recommended it, that I do it ASAP based on the x-rays, because he already warned me that his hips were coming out. Or just whatever. Right?
Hold on. Wait, why are you doing that?
Like, why are you doing that? Now she's going to start antagonizing me. We actually get into a fight there, people. I have canceled appointments with these people because I've gotten into fights with Tisha and we weren't talking at the time of the appointment and I had to cancel, okay? Like, seriously, man, you don't even know sometimes what I have to deal with.
Because I want to.
Because I want to.
It makes me nervous.
It makes me nervous.
There's nothing wrong.
There's something wrong with you.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's fine.
I'm back.
Okay.
Okay. Judy, do you remember me? I'm Maria, one of the physios.
Yeah.
You've met before. Tisha.
Did you see that? Amari did not respond until that woman walked in. And this is another reason why I kind of like to record these things, because I get to hear what Amari is feeling. But you see, that's the thing. I don't need to hear it to know what he's feeling, because as soon as he looks at the table and he's being placed on it, he knows what's coming and he doesn't like it, people. He doesn't.
And Amari. How are you, kiddo? How are you doing? You got so tall.
Yeah, go yeah. He's trying to go here. Really listen to his sounds.
Yeah, he's so tall. He's growing. Yeah.
Got personality. He's looking cheeky at you.
Yes, yeah.
There's like,
Yeah, he's trying to communicate with her, right? Because, you know, he doesn't want to be hurt people.
Is that what you're doing? A little bit. Nice.
Just get him on the table, and then you get the...
Oh yeah, we'll do. We'll keep him comfortable. Yeah, we'll do what we can. So
Maybe he's not even on the table yet. Maybe he's still sitting in his chair. But he knows. He's not stupid. He sees that tail. He knows.
how's everything going? How's he been? He's all good?
He's Amari.
He's Amari. Are you worried about anything? Comfort or caring for him or anything that's come up? Like, I just mean like moving his body around when I say caring for him.
Well, he moves around like quite a bit. He stands on his knees, like, because he broke his tibia. Yeah.
Now, when these questions are presented to me, I'm already defensive. I already feel like I have to over-explain myself to justify Amari's happiness so that he can keep it, because I'm afraid these people are going to take it away from him through their medical intervention to prevent pain, future pain. Well, I don't necessarily see him in pain because he doesn't display symptoms of pain except for maybe, you know, like me. Some people can do the splits, no prob. Me, if you go and try and, you know, it doesn't work because the way, right? So, you know, Like, he doesn't cry out in pain, but he might twitch in pain if I try and spread his legs too far wide open as I'm cleaning him or trying to change his diaper. So I don't provoke it, right? But at the same time, with the cerebral palsy and with the crossing of the legs, pulling out more and more and more, and then losing of the weight tightens the ligaments, which, you know, at some point is going to pose a pain factor when the hip actually comes out of the socket, and it affects the ligaments that connect it to the socket, which creates the pain that the doctor is trying to prevent from happening. All right.
I read that, yeah.
Do a lot of this now
Okay,
because of the tibia being broken, right?
yeah.
But it doesn't bother him though. So what he does, I don't know, he does this. You can see what I'm doing, right?
And pretend.
Right? And he grabs the couch.
So this is the physiotherapist in terms of how he moves, what he's feeling when it comes to his body parts, namely from the waist down, I would think. Right? Because that's always been the bigger issue, was this with the hips, and that was for the hips specifically. So, right?
Next thing you know it.
And of course, I'm on the defense because I know he's underweight. I know they've always wanted to do surgery with him, always. So I've always been on the defensive with that. And in terms of there should be other options, right? And just with the whole, just with the process in general, right? It's not an easy road to walk on. It's really not.
He's on his knee, wherever that leg is.
Right, on one leg, basically.
So through his daily activities, you know, and not squawking on about it and crying out in pain and all this, you get, as the caregiver, what happens is, the parent or whatever, you get conditioned to think that your child is in a normal state of equilibrium with the body where there is no pain to rush him to the hospital or to follow up on surgery when they're bouncing around like a mad Dixons, laughing and, and coming into milestones. Why would you want to rob your child of milestones, even though they're maybe not the normal standard of a milestone? Amari can't get up and stand up on two legs, but he has found a way to get up and stand up basically on one leg. It was enough he was basically half standing up on his knees, two of them. However, even one gimp leg going like this because of the tibia getting broken, because I reminded her he broke his tibia, and when his tibia got broken, they put the cast in him, and when they put the cast on him to fix that, they had his foot going like this in the cast, right? And just so it set like that. So after they took off the cast, it's basically been like that. And even though they give me these ankle bracelets to straighten out his ankle, they've never worked. So you as the parent or the caregiver, you just, you just accept it and just want them to be happy. And hell, if you're standing up on your knees, even though this is all gimped up and the other one's like however, and he's up and he's laughing and he's giggling and he's reaching and he's moving, and then one day he's doing the same maneuver, he puts it right, and the next thing you know, you're looking at to see how he's doing it, and his actual foot is on the couch, and now he's using his leg to push himself up, to make himself stand on his leg versus his knee, right? That's a milestone. You tell it to people like this, and I'm not saying this individual, it isn't necessarily what they always want to hear or acknowledge, because they don't see the milestone. They see the result of the disability forming the body where the individual child learns to adapt to that body to get from point A to point B without waiting for somebody to do it for them. And Amari has found a way to do that. But what it does, more than likely, and I've known this, but I don't stop him from doing it because he has a life to live, and it's his life, and he's entitled to have some freedom, some joy, some accomplishments. He's proud of himself when he does this stuff, people, and he challenges himself. And if he can't do it once, he'll come back and he'll try it again. That tells you his brain is working. All right? I'm just saying. But I go into these situations, I go into defense mode. I feel like I have to fight for Amari to have the right to be able to have those milestones, knowing that if I don't keep him like this for the rest of his life, there's going to be problems around it where I'm going to be under scrutiny. Because we're looking at, well, he's getting more gimped up. Well, yeah, he's getting more gimped up because of the body curling, not because I'm not doing anything right. It's because the body is doing it. And in factor of him having the broken tibia and just everything in general and just the way he likes to put his legs so that he can take the good leg and do whatever he does, which he now can stand on the actual foot and stand up as he's using his gimp leg to brace himself. He's doing this for himself. But through all that, his hips are still coming out. Doctor said it was good that he was standing on his leg. It was good. But maybe not in the manner that he was doing it. But did he cry out in pain? No. So why would I rush him to the hospital if he's not crying out in pain? Instead, he's like... grabbing out, laughing and giggling and wanting to go for more. Would you just pick your child up and go run him off to the hospital saying he stood up, he must be in pain, quick call the hip doctor? No. You just roll the dice with it. And you learn to love them for who they are. And this is kind of why I'm doing this video, because, if you reach one and it will help. It does. It will help somebody one day. So, okay. Let's listen a little more. And I think I'm going to end this video. And then I will just probably... Or maybe I will listen to the next... Maybe the next video we'll listen to this and I'll do a walk and talk through it. To follow up on what I'm saying here. Because this video is already long enough. As I work on clearing out my counter now. Preferably both of them. Okay? Preferably... I'm going to end this video. So my goal is... Well, obviously I got kitchen work to do. We'll follow up with this on the next video, and we'll use the recording as a talking point to expand on what I've said, okay, so far, because I'm jumping around with it, right? And that's how I was in that room with my head. I literally felt my head sparking here, sparking, especially when we got into food. What is that? There's a game that's, what was it? Trivia? They'd ask you questions, and you'd have to come up with the right answer. I felt like I was playing that game. I think it's called Trivia. And I just happened to be in the subject of, quote-unquote, food. And so for everything that the dietitian was thinking, my brain was sparking here, sparking there, trying to, and I was over-talking her too, right? It wasn't that I was being rude, I was just hyper on defense, trying to be part of the solution, right? Trying not to exaggerate on my feelings in terms of feeding into my own fears. I didn't want to feed into my own fears. And I felt like I had to talk fast because you only have so much time in these appointments, and I was dealing with more than one person, right? So in my mind, I just wanted to pick that brain as fast as I could pick it so that I could log in with what I've already got, because at the end of the day, when I walked out of that room, I was the one coming home with Amari having to deal with the problem. Yeah. And if there was any even little bit of an information that I could gather in there, especially when it came to the food, because I figured that's my strong point, right? In terms of that game, and when it comes to trivia, right? Trivia, yeah. And it worked, and it worked, but it had me to kind of be rude in a kind of way and over talk her as she was trying to say something, because I just wanted to push past the point that, yeah, we know beans are good for him, but you have to consider this, and this. I pointed out to her, right? And now that I've brought it to her attention, I brought it to my attention, I've got the damn beans sitting right there in a box for last month in a 50-pound bag. I bought myself some nice little jars, so I'm going to wash some jars and put some of those beans in that jar, even though I've got them in buckets full all over the house. But besides that point, I'm just going to start with a nice few jars of these lentils, beans, you know, and I'm going to put them on that side of the counter, which I don't have a lot of room, people. And I'm going to bring a blender down, because she asked me what type of blender I use, and I really need to start bringing in bigger blenders. But besides that point, I'm going to bring the blender down from on top of the fridge, put it over there. I'm going to clear off this counter. Don't ask me where I'm going to put this shit, because I don't got a lot of room. And I'm going to bring this weight scale so that I can start weighing out at least, and start working on 3 recipes that I can send to her, and you know, as thank you to her sending me 3 recipes. However, I decide to incorporate those recipes, because her recipes will be different than my recipes, into Amari's meals. And I'm going to take that blender over there, and I'm going to put it over there, which I bought, and it has a puree system, so I'm going to try that. And if those 2 blenders don't fucking work for what I need, I've got my old school granny grinders, blenders that I like. And I'm going to up the ante. And then I went and I bought 6% plain yogurt, 6% fat plain yogurt. I'm going to go back with the higher fat content. But this is where that doctor with the nurse with the dietitian can help me to build a meal plan where you've got the right combinations of foods working together to provide the most nutrients, and that's assuming that Amari's intestines are working correctly, right? That's assuming that his seizure medication isn't disrupting his digestive system as a side effect from absorbing the nutrients. We have to rule these things out, right? What was that? Andre! What was that? Is he okay?
Yep.
Because he has a fever. Check him.
I did. Well, I did.
Okay. And, so I'm going to work on that for the next couple of days. Andre's saying it's going to start snowing outside in the next day or 2 or 3. That's what I said. It might. Maybe is a might. As if I got time to go outside right now in the cold weather, below fridge temperatures, never mind snow. So I'm not going to worry about that for a few days at least, so I can, you know, get on this situation. And I'll cook up another bird to make more bone broth. Well, the other half of the bird gets cooked up in the convection oven with barbecue sauce just to snack and eat on. Yeah. And can the bone broth that I have that's in the fridge that I need to do, because I made that 3 days ago or whatever it was, so it'll be fine. So I'm going to put them in quart size, because I go through it really fast. And if I have quart size, you know, and if I'm trying to make larger meals, it doesn't seem like much. I know it doesn't seem like much, people, but there's only so many places you can get that collagen. And I don't even know if his body will repair itself due to lack of getting those proteins when he was on those drinks. So that's where we're at with that. And then so I'm going to end this video, and before I upload this one, I think I should upload this one. I'm sure there was other things in there I wanted to mention. In the end, oh here, let's just listen to this for a few more minutes.
And now when he cocks his back, and if you're laying down, you think he's standing up. Or,
Actually, with his feet on the ground or still on his knee?
that was the knee,
Yeah.
with this one or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't complain about it.
Careful,
Or, I, what?
Just hooked your first strap on your foot. I don't want you to trip.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Or, he's got his leg, whatever he does, because, you know, he does what he does, and he's comfortable with it. And I did. I caught him.
Putting his foot down. Oh, that's great. And pulling up. Wow.
I showed her what he does, basically, because I've been trying to watch to catch him to see how he does it so I can explain it to them. I see it as a milestone. They see it as an instigator to having his hips come out more, to which is reasonable, but at the end of the day, it's always been that issue. Some kids can't move, period. And they still operate on them, I think.
Oh, Amari.
Yeah, but he's hanging a little bit on the couch, right?
Perfect, yeah.
I can't, no, there's not, right?
Yeah,
But,
go
and
start.
then he's like he did, he went with that foot, right, his left. And he went up, and then he cocks, and then he wants to go down on my sewing table and grab.
Gold star Amari.
And he does it daily, every day. And sometimes he does it multiple times, over and over. And his reach is getting further.
Amazing.
So he has two ways of doing that.
Yeah, 2 ways. He's figured out 2 ways to do what he wants to do when he does that stuff.
And then he's famous for pulling himself up or sitting up, flipping himself around.
Do you know how lucky we are for Amari to be able to even to do those things? So lucky. Being on what spectrum of the cerebral palsy line he's on. We're so lucky.
Putting himself back. And now he's at the end of the couch, reaching over for something. And he does that.
So I don't know how well you can hear this because it's obviously muffled, because I had to put it on the chair because Tisha was geeking up, right?
Yeah, but nothing that,
Just for a moment, and then it goes away. Yeah.
yeah. Now,
Really stretching him. He didn't like that either.
well, yeah, because
He doesn't like you changing his diaper and spreading his legs. Right? He doesn't, it hurts. I don't even like going like that. Right? But with his situation, and especially with the things that he does, you know, and, right, if you go too far, he'll like that. But when he does whatever he does, he's not twitching when he's doing it. He's doing it with a mission in mind. Right? He's doing it with intent.
pops and clips and everything.
Moving his hips.
You know.
I was just wondering when you dress him and when you're changing him, so like changing his pamper, pamper. Anyway. When you move his around, does he ever flinch or give any indication?
Well, they already know that they flinch. Because if you notice, she used the word flinch. Because that's what these kids do, right? You know, over time. That they're, you know, when they're born, they come with their, to measure this and measure. These babies, they can go like this when they're born, right? You know? And then as the kids are growing, obviously the legs are going, you know, things are curling, right? So going more and more like this, and then it tightens up, right? Or whatever. And then, you know, try and go like that when you were a baby, you can't. But they make it so that they push you as far, so they can see how far, and they measure, and they create pain. Because if you're forced, okay, baby can do this, a 4-year-old can go that far, right? Or a 2-year-old, right? That's as far as they can measure. By the time the child is 4, it's like this. That's as far as the legs will open up. We'll just use this as an example. Sure in the hell not like when they were a baby, right? And now Amari's 7, and it's like this, right? And they want to open up his legs, so as soon as they move, of course he's going to flinch. But that doesn't stop him from standing up on one foot, or making his body stand up on his knees, right? Without flinching. So it depends, right? So this is where they get a little cagey, and this is what makes me nervous, because they look for those things where, you know, like, they have an excuse to lead into other things that might not necessarily be a good thing. Because if you're asking me to put Amari into leg braces for X amount of time, all day long, all whatever, you know what I'm saying, just so that he won't flinch because you want to spread open his legs even though he's doing what he's doing, then it, you know, anyway. Because even with those little leg braces, the doctor asked me, well, have you been using those things, you know, they made with a bar in the middle? I said I couldn't. Within a day, he broke them. Andre, can you make me a coffee, please? I said, no. As soon as I got them, the next day he broke them. That's how strong he is. Just make me a coffee, okay? So he hasn't been using them. Yeah. Right? And, you know, even if he was, as soon as you take him off, he'd be bouncing around doing what Amari does, and we'd still be faced with the problem. It's just because they always said, even if they use them, sooner or later, he's still going to need hip surgery. So, right? Just, you can't win for losing.
But she struggles. He likes a little hard body. He likes the...
Yeah, and he's a hard body. You know, he uses a lot of strength. He toughened, like me. I just don't go and pick up a waterlogged freaking right piece of wood outside as if it's nothing. Fuck no. I have to tighten my body first, stop and think and breathe, and tighten my body, position my legs, grab the wood, and tighten up, and lift it. Well, Amari does the same kind of thing. He wants to go someplace, so he knows in his mind he has to tighten up, go like this, grab onto something, be tight, flip himself over as he's keeping his body tight to do it, and then flip himself over so that he can land on his back on the other side of the couch with his head facing in the other direction so that he can reach over the couch and grab something off the freaking floor. And he has to hold his body tight throughout that whole process, through the maneuvers that he can do 1, 2, 3, 4 really freaking fast, people, because his brain is thinking. But what it does is it feeds into that tightness of his body, so therefore he becomes a hard body. So that when you go to touch him, he just automatically tightens up. Especially if he knows that you're going to frickin' hurt him. Yeah. And he knows these people hurt him because he's already afraid of the fucking table, because he's been through it enough times with too many people poking on him without thinking about exactly how he's feeling. Outside of, oh, he'll forget. Well, no, he doesn't forget. You see, that's the thing. He remembers.
Okay.
Fight against you,
Okay.
right? You have to encourage him.
So, you know, if I want to change his diaper and spread his legs, he'll fight against me automatically. But then, because of his situation over a period of 7 years, in combination of how he moves his body, being a hard body at it while he does it, he doesn't want his legs spread open any more than they have to be. So if I want him to spread his legs open so that I can effectively change his diaper better, or I need to whatever, right, clean him or whatever, I have to kind of talk him through it to relax and give him time for his mind to catch up with his right reflex, just to tighten up because he's a little hard body, so that he will relax and will let me spread his legs open a little more, but they'll only go so far. So of course I don't push it, and in the back of my mind I'm like, oh great, just a matter of time before we go to the hip doctor or somebody, and somebody's going to bring it to my attention, as if I don't know, as if I don't see it, that he's stiff and that there's a problem. Well, yeah, there's a problem there. If you, of course he's going to be in pain. But if you leave him alone, whatever. Next thing you know it, you walk away and he's sitting up over there on the couch, ready to stand up on his fucking foot, and you didn't hear a peep out of him. So, right, which one do you choose? Let him be free, stand up and sit up and move around and be happy and right, and have his brain thinking and being active and solving problems and his problems. He has his problems too, right? He's figuring out how to solve his own freaking problems, right? Or would you rather him, you know, being forced to spread his legs, keep his legs like that? They said they can't even use those things anymore because of the state that he's in. Because the doctor asked me why I didn't use them. I said I put them on and they broke it. He broke it. And I took him back to the children's center. Here, all broken. And I haven't used them since. I haven't had them since. And then they gave me some sponge thing, which we all laughed at it in the end. And I said, yeah, the Houdini baby, I'm sure we'll find a way to get out of it. They tried to hide the Velcro straps. Oh, yeah. No, Amari will feel around, right? You know, and he'll figure out how to unstrap it so he can pop himself out of those temporary leg things to help spread them out even just a little bit in terms of, right? Because it's like this, to the point where he now needs surgery because it's gone so far, right? This is how I'm trying to explain to you what's going on here. But they can't because he's too underweight, because he's lost, I think, 10% of his weight, or 10% of something, I think the doctor said, to where that when children, he wasn't specific to say Amari. He's, listen to me now, don't take it fucking personal, it's when children like Amari, because these are the challenges that they face for whatever reason, right? Get to the point where Amari is in the weight from where he was, they can go down very quickly. And I agree, because they're skeletons. They're walking skeletons. He's underweight. He has no body fat. He has no real muscle tone. And what muscle he has in his leg and the arm, he's even losing some of that because he's so active and he's a hard body, right? Now, I could drug him up. Maybe make him lethargic, liftless, which might possibly bring on more seizures, could bring on a coma. It could decrease his cognitive skills because of the fact that he'd always be tired and sleepy and liftless, and because that's what it's designed to do, is to relax the muscles, and at some point it's going to affect the brain, even though they say it doesn't. But yet you can go into a coma with it, or it can bring on seizures, and to maybe make him not move so much as he is in an active state without drugs outside of his seizure medication, hoping that with being stationary, he'll gain weight. Like, is that a solution? Is that a medical solution to get Amari to gain weight, to make him turn into a little vegetable, you know, through a medication that, you know, basically, you know, is what? Or do we just let Amari live his life and work around him in terms of, okay, well, we can't use those things, but they brought in the little sponge things, which he's going to have today, and we're going to try that and see how that goes, and hopefully he won't be that Houdini baby and rip off the fucking straps, because if he does and pops out of that thing and I can't use it, what, are they going to get mad at me because I can't use it? Do I have to get gray tape and tape it on him in order for it to stay on because he's smart enough to figure out how to bust loose out of it because he's a Houdini baby? Like, come on. Because I warned him, I said, you do realize he's a Houdini baby. They said, yeah, we know. We tried to hide the straps. I'm like, good. But it was wherever they got those straps. As Andre make my coffee, as where they got those straps, as soon as I seen them, in the back of my mind, I might even mention it, say, I don't know about that. I think he'll be able to figure out how to pull his ass out of that one. Don't be surprised. Because he's alert. He's thinking, he connives. He has a problem. He figures out how to solve his problem. Okay, that's, to me, is more important than anything, people. Right? When it comes to Amari's, wellness, right? But there's consequences around it, because he is a hard ball, and he's determined, and he's active, and he's a go-getter, and he doesn't just give up. He keeps trying, and he gets more creative, whatever. Like I said, first it was standing on the knees, and now he's standing on the one foot that really on the one leg, the left leg, that really needs surgery now, but because of whatever, he's too underweight to even do the surgery. As they're saying, well, we'll just keep him comfortable, even though he's not crying out in pain. And the only reason he's fussy right now is because he came back with a freaking fever, which kind of makes me wonder if they, sedate them maybe when they're on the table, because he was quite copacetic on the table when they were measuring him. And I'm like, no, they wouldn't do that behind my back. Right? To make their job easier, right? But it could be just with the stress of it all, because he had the 2 appointments. It wouldn't have mattered if it was 1 appointment, 2 appointment. It's all the same in those situations. So just even stress alone brought on a fever, as everybody's on the hunt for pain. Right. So, okay, let's listen. We'll just listen to this little part. There's only another minute or 2 on it, and then I'm going to end this video. Yeah. And just have another coffee and try and breathe and relax. I have to do my laundry. I've got dishes to do. I want to can my broth before it goes to waste. I'm going to make more, because I believe that's a magic bullet when it comes to a superfood, and that is one of the things at the top of the list that needs to be incorporated into his daily diet, preferably on a daily basis, to which I haven't quite got to that point yet. But I definitely been using it, and I'm going to open up my box of Cantatelli beans, and I'm going to wash my big jar, and I'll put it in there, and that's going to be my, and I'll do 6 jars. I've got lentils, but, it's hard to deal with the big buckets and stuff, and I've got other jars. Anyway, I'm working on jars with something.
To relax and calm down. But, he's like a little hard body, because he's moving all day. It takes, like, when he grabs, he hard.
He's clucking.
Right? When he's lifting himself up, he hard. So as soon as he moves, he...
Is that you doing that over there? Oh, yeah.
He gets, you can tighten up to move. So
I hear you. Amari! What are you doing? As your mother would say. Let's see if he laughs. Amari! What are you doing? You're supposed to be sleeping. As your mother would say. Amari! It's working. What are you doing? You're supposed to be sleeping. As your mother would say. He responded to it.
In nature, it's kind of natural for him to be that way.
Got it.
But so when you touch him, and depending on what you want to do, he doesn't like his legs spread, but then neither do I, right? So
yeah, but that's getting worse though, because of the hips popping out of the joints. Okay, and that's why we have these people, right? Right? They're there to correct the problem. If they can try and solve the problem, they can never really prevent it, because I've always told that even if you did this for 8 hours a day from the moment he was born right up until today, he'd still be facing hip surgery. One way or another, with his situation, it was just a matter of time. So You know, one worker at the Child Development Center, because of the right foot turning in, right? Okay. Said something about, well, you know, the ankle bracelets is to make it so that it's easy for, you know, it's easier for you to put on their clothes, like pants, when their foot is like this versus like this. And I said, well, yeah, obviously, but even when he's wearing the ankle bracelets, it still never prevented that. So, I mean, you just learn to accept some things, right? And if you can't change his pants because it's too difficult for you because you don't have the patience, well, then don't put yourself in a position where you're doing that. You know? In other words, don't be the caregiver to Amari if you can't do that.
You know, some people are like, can you still do the splits? Well, I could never do the splits.
We don't want to do.
See, now I'm being defensive because I'm feeling that they expect him to do this like he was when he was a baby. And not only do they expect him to do it, but they try and make him do it so they can take their measurements as they prepare for surgery at a future date. This is a hip surveillance. Because in the old days, before this program was set up, people would have their children with disabilities. They'd have their family doctor, right? They'd go see the family doctor, yada-de-yada. They go home, yada-de-yada. And then one day, 5, 7 years, 8 years later, or whatever it is, all of a sudden they're in an emergency room because the hip popped out. And everybody's rushing around trying to deal with the problem then versus quote-unquote monitoring it, trying to find ways to prevent it from happening faster, but also trying to find ways which is the best surgery to make it so that, right, it doesn't happen even though there's risks to it, or to deal with the problem when it did happen. But technically what the doctor was wanting to offer, he can't offer if the hip completely pops out. If the hip completely pops out, to which it could very well with Amari, because we're getting at that point, right? The only alternative for that doctor would be to cut the bone and throw it in the garbage. Where I'm saying, no, you need to think about who can do a hip surgery for him. Because that's what I'd like as an alternative, even though you're telling me that in your contact of studies that it's a low mortality rate, whereas I seen a study, and I don't remember if I printed it out or not. I may have, or maybe I saved the link or something, I don't know. But it said no, it was a good option for even for people that were stationary and couldn't walk because of cerebral palsy. They were just a little older. They were in an older group. Right? But, so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The splits.
But you know what I mean, right? So,
I know how.
he'll fight you. He doesn't like to be really touched in general too much, right? It just,
Yeah, Amari's not a real touchy person until he wants to be touched. Or if, yeah, he'll either come to you and cuddle with you and want to lay on, like he lays on me, right? Lays on my legs or whatever, right? You know, but if I grab him and I like hold him, depending if he's really sick, then fine, he's really happy to be there. If he's a little more whatever, you know what I'm saying, you know, and he's just right, you know, you grab his hand, and this is his hand he uses. This one he can't, right? So if you try and grab, you know, he doesn't like it. He pulls away because he likes to be in control. You see, that's the thing, right? So, you know. But he is definitely cuddly, though, because if he wants to cuddle, he'll come and he'll nestle himself right in there and be as comfy, as cozy as he can possibly get. But he gets heavy, though, right?
In terms of, even when he was a baby,
Yeah.
right?
That's like certain sounds. He likes certain touches. Other touches he doesn't. He never has. I don't think he ever will. Just like there's certain sounds that he doesn't like vacuum cleaners, water, like shower, just water running in a bathtub he does not like, right? Certain sounds outside, depending on what it is, he just does not like.
Now he's being
It's not even about like. Some of it becomes very fearful for him.
copacetic, but usually he's so anyway, he's not, nothing that like is outstandish to where it's problematic, where
He's
Like
complaining.
sleeping at night, he's not waking up.
well,
in pain
now
or-
this is what I was gonna say.
Okay.
So off and on,
This is where I bring this spasm that he gets. It's the same kind of movement as if he was trying to get up and move his body. But it gets repetitive. It's like his brain gets stuck doing the same movement over again. But he's cognitive, so it's not a seizure. Because if it was a seizure, he wouldn't be cognitive. He wouldn't be laughing, giggling, complaining, or whatever. And he normally laughs and giggles when I pick him up and then I start stretching out his arm, and it's like, snapping and crackling, popping, and and I'm working out, right, and he's laughing and giggling or whatever, right? So, but he's still doing it, right? It takes anywhere from 30 seconds to maybe 5 minutes at best to work itself out, whatever it is, which this may or may not help with. So I brought this with me, but we never did discuss it with anybody because the physiotherapist, I don't know, wasn't interested in it either. So, not that I want to use it, but. And it's not regular, but it's something to note, right? And it could very well to do with the lack of, like I'm thinking pinched nerves. It's getting into pinched nerves because he doesn't have that body, right? To the body fat, what do you call it? Body fat and the body muscles, right? He doesn't have that to prevent pinched nerves deeper in the ligaments of something. Right? Oh my God. Anyway, people. Okay.
throughout the week, it's not regular, only seems to happen upon wakening.
See, he's fussing. Now, I don't know if he's in the chair fussing because he knows what's coming, or if he's already on the table. I'm not sure. I think Tisha did put him on the table, and he does not want to be there.
Usually between 4 and 6 when I usually start waking. So either he's waking me up because I feel him, or Andre's caught him a couple times doing it. He's coming out of his sleep. And it's like he's doing the move that he would if he was wanting to move. Right? Okay, the same kind of...
Like get up, you mean? Like
Yeah, the same kind of, right? Because I've really watched him on this, right? I've tried to figure this out. Is it a seizure or is it spasms?
See, this is where, as a caregiver, you have to let down your defenses to be able to do that, first of all, without feeling defenseful. So there is such a word as defenseful? Defensive. Without feeling defensive, right? It's just defensive. Because when you go talk to somebody, I mean, like, they're thinking, well, what the hell did you do? Okay, you got this problem. Well, you must be doing something wrong. It's your fault. You. Or you have to push past that. And that's why I really try and pay attention as to what it is that he's doing when he's doing these things, so that when I do come into contact with these workers, I'm giving them the correct information to the best of my ability, so that we can determine what we're dealing with. So that second team that we're dealing with now, with the doctor and the nurse, in light of, you know, the and you can't call it malnutrition, people, because I've been feeding him, but we just need to balance it out and rule out digestive problems that prevent nutrients from being absorbed correctly, which could very well prevent weight gain. Okay, that's all I'm saying, right? So what I'm talking about here, though, I would take to them with that information, right? And this has only been happening for the last, well, going on 3 months now, off and on.
Not a seizure.
So it's a new thing, and it's not a seizure.
He's not.
No, because I got him in my lap. I've exercised out his arm, right? Talking to him. He's making noises like that, or he's laughing, or he's giggling, or whatever. And then, you know, it's slowing down, and then it's like rhythm. It has a beat to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And I'm like, you know, in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as I'm exiting out, it seems to just work itself out, which makes me think pinched nerve somewhere in his body, which would be reasonable considering what we're dealing with just everything in general, which is nobody's fault. You see, that's the thing. It's nobody's fault. Except for maybe the doctor who birthed them. Or maybe the doctor who turned Shimei away at the hospital when she went with labor pains the first time, and he sent her home. There you could maybe put fault. But all these people I'm coming into contact with right now, no. It's not their fault any more than it's my fault. That's just life.
Having seizures, okay? Because...
But he seems uncomfortable.
No, it's not that. It's not even about uncomfortable. It's about a repetitive...
Yeah. Repetitive.
It seems to be rhythmic.
Rhythmic.
Okay.
And then I start thinking, okay, so what's going on? Are you having a seizure? Amari.
Right.
Look for, and he laughing, he giggling for the most part, right? Or I'm like, come on, you know, what's going on? You know, and like, to see if he's having a seizure, because a seizure, you know, there's different kinds, right? And, you know, like, he hasn't had many, but anyway.
I think Tisha put him on the bed, and he did not want to be there.
It seems to be like spasms.
Yeah, he's upset.
Yeah, totally good. Yeah. So maybe waking up with some spasm in night about 4 in the morning even.
Between 4 and 5 usually, or 6 or 7. It's upon usually waking between those hours. Although Andre has caught him a couple times, but then I haven't watched with the hour, right? But it's usually upon it's coming out of sleep.
Right.
It seems to be coming out of sleep, but it's the same kind of movement per se.
Got it. Yeah.
Do you see what I
totally I know what you mean. It looks like he's gonna motion to get out of bed, but you don't know
exactly,
if it's like
and then
intentional or
exactly,
yeah.
and then it becomes a little, you know, like rhythmic.
Yeah.
Where there's this, okay, 1, 2, 3.
I see.
1, 2.
Nya, he calling me, eh? That's what he's doing. Nya.
3.
Okay.
Right? Where it seems to be,
It's not just-
yeah,
it's like-
yeah, right? And I'm like,
And I
okay.
can't rescue him.
So I pick him up and I'll lay him down and I'll stretch his arm. That seems to help. So I'm thinking pinched nerves. I'm thinking maybe he's getting pinched nerves, right? Right? Because you know he's sleeping solid, right? Here's his bottle right here.
No, I know, but did he pee or is that water?
I don't know. Maybe he peed because... and it doesn't last very long. It can last anywhere from, we'll say, 30 seconds to at best maybe 4 or 5 minutes. with,
Put down something.
intervals in between, depending on. And he will either laugh,
What am I doing?
giggle,
I'm doing something.
maybe be fussy, or whatever, but he's always alert. Like, I make sure that it's not a quote-unquote seizure.
Got it, yeah.
Right.
Follow, yeah.
So, what I did, now, there was a doctor from Surrey
Back with
that
it, yeah.
I never used
No, okay.
Sorry.
because I didn't like the side effects that I read.
Yeah.
And I'm already dealing with the seizure medication. And I like
That was
it.
Dr. Kwok.
So, does stress bring on fevers for children with cerebral palsy? I think so. I'm sorry, he couldn't have caught a flu that fast from the children's hospital, and it's not the first time he hasn't come back from there and get sick. Out, right? Because, the only time Amari ever got sick was when he would go out on appointments and come back and whatever. But,
I don't know, I don't remember. But I like him alert.
Yeah, it is there are side effects for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Weigh the pros and cons for sure, yeah.
And, he's active and everything. But with the spasm thing, I was gonna go see Dr. Ramesh,
Yeah,
but it doesn't happen like every day.
okay.
It can go a week, 2 weeks without, and then you can have it happen 2 or 3 times within a week and a half. Do you
But
see?
not always, but
No.
longer stretches without.
Yeah, so and this has only been happening, I'd probably put it at 4 months now.
Okay.
4 months and a bit.
3 months, 4
So
months.
it's kind of new, right? And I feel like, sometimes like when he's doing it, right? Right? Because I'm trying to give you
Oh, yeah,
the real
you're doing a
information,
great job,
right?
yeah, you're really.
And I'm holding him, now I'm holding him, right? And I'm holding his hand, and I'm stretching out
That's
this
where
one,
it's like-
or I'm holding his hand, and as he's doing it, even his hand is moving.
Yeah.
So this is, or whatever hand, I don't know, right? I didn't write it all down, but I'm like,
And it's not like,
something to do with the body.
It's more like-
more than it is with the mind, because he's still interacting and being alert, giggling,
So
whatever,
no sign
being
of
annoyed.
seizure, yeah, but something.
Yeah.
And it's all of his body or one part of his body? Hard to tell. It's kind of a movement with lots of,
I
yeah.
never really thought about that. I'm
Yeah.
more like, this looks like you said, he wants to get out.
Hi, sorry. You can come back. You just have extra. Oh, was it done already?
It was already done.
Oh, yeah, we already had a, I already read it, but we already read it. And everything, because. Oh, there's someone ordering.
okay, so this is where everybody starts getting a heart of steel. Somebody came into the room and asked to have another x-ray for Amari. So-and-so said, no, he already had one. And I'm like, yeah, he already had one. He's not having another one because I don't like them, period. And I don't like using a program as an excuse to give him hip x-rays every 6 months for his whole life. I think that's wrong. I think it's unnecessary to be exposing him to that amount of radiation for something that they can't stop anyway. Right? It's excessive. And it's not going to change anything. So it should be done in moderation. And they know how I feel about it. But because they've seen something that poses a problem, before you know it, everybody's, right? Because, it is what it is.
What did you say?
Hang on, I'm just gonna maybe relax and wait on those.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Judy, we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, what? You gonna give him another? No. Don't worry. Yeah. I don't want him to have How do we know he didn't get that fever from the x-ray people? He's so fucking tiny. Like, seriously, how do we know? Because he came home with a fever. Well, he got a fever when he was at home. I don't know if he came home with it, but a few hours after being home, he has a fever, and he still has a fever. I had to take off his t-shirt. I've been giving him Advil. Where did he get the fever from? Did he get it from the table with the women swarming him? Or did he get it from the x-ray machine? Something provoked it. Was it stress? I should write it down so that when I talk to this team of the nurse and the doctor that is now assigned to help me with this situation, I can bring it to their attention. Because something provoked the fever. Andre, please, make me my coffee. I have a rough 2 days, 3 days. As I'm feeling guilty about the yard, because you know I'm not going out there right now. I'm going to deal with Amari's situation and get my ducks all lined up in a row on my counters. And I'm taking up this food meal preparation to a whole new level. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
First one first.
Yeah,
okay?
no.
Hang on a second.
You need to relax.
No, you need to laugh.
Now Tisha's pissing me off, picking on me, because I'm saying, whoa, he just had an x-ray. I don't want another one. They already know how I feel about it. Seriously. I've got him down to 1 x-ray a year over the last year and a bit because, or whatever, 2 years, because, they want him every 6 months. Well, yeah, we know. Right? So we agreed that he'd get the x-ray when I go to the children's hospital because Tisha would take him off to go get an x-ray at a clinic over there so that by the time we got to the children's hospital, the doctor would have the results, but he didn't like the results, so he'd get another x-ray from the children's hospital. So that's 2 x-rays in a short period of time for that one visit, where I'm saying, no. And he's saying, okay, well, forget that one. We'll just do it when you get here. So that's when it got done. You got your one, and now you're asking for more. No. And then Tisha, just calm down. Verse, you know what I'm saying? Like wanting to pick a fucking fight with me over an x-ray.
Relax, Tisha. Just calm down.
Yeah, just calm down. But then Tisha's stressed out because Kyrie is sick with his own issues right now. And Kyrie has digestive tract issues, whether it's just simply lactose intolerance or maybe it's something more severe. And I also told her that because he's had it basically since he's been a baby or whenever, there's a higher probability the older he gets, it's going to turn into some sort of medical illness where it actually has a name and it becomes a disability. So you're not out of the woods yet, Tisha. You're just dealing with the opposite end of that issue when it comes to the digestive tract. So I'm trying to work with Tisha to try and encourage her to work on a meal plan for Kyrie to help cut back on diarrhea, right? Versus Amari with constipation.
I feel like once every 6 months.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't know.
You feel like once every 6 months is bad. No. Yeah, I do. Once a year is bad enough. Not 2 times. And then double it because they didn't get it right the first time and want to do it again. And then send the kid home with a fever. Okay. Maybe that's where the fever came from, people. Maybe it came from the x-ray. I need to mark that down. I need to write it down.
Well, why did they need to start?
They can't blame me for the fever. He didn't have a fever when he left the house. He was perfectly fine.
Like double x-ray.
Well, you don't know. Maybe they seen something, or maybe it was bad, or maybe it was wrong. I told you, she only took 1 x-ray. Maybe she didn't get what they needed to get. He peed all over his pants and we forgot to bring the other one.
Well, there you go.
There I go about what?
We forgot the other pair of pants. You have to put them back on.
No, I know.
We don't have a choice. Maybe ask for a blanket for now.
Needs freaking cream on his legs.
And now she's picking on me about cream on his legs. Because black people require a lot of cream on their skin. When I don't even think about it. I do oil with magnesium from time to time. But I've never been one of those people running after my kids, creaming them down here, creaming. It's just... She smells like a... what is that called? A factory, a perfume factory. Because she's always plastering herself for shit. I tell her it's not good for herself, but she doesn't listen.
Really bad.
I use that oil with magnesium.
Okay, well, he needs like, oh my god, like good cream.
Anything to pick on me.
Like thick, like coconut or something.
Yeah, like cocoa cream.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, how does he even like pee? Oh my god.
Because he leaks out. I don't know. Is it soaking wet?
He's leaking out of the diapers all the time because he doesn't have that body fat. He's lost it. And the diapers don't fit right, even if I double diaper him. And because of this shit, they weren't designed to have the legs go like this. I don't know. I got lots of laundry I have to do.
I told you, he needs a lot.
I gotta do my laundry before I go outside and dig in the fucking weeds. Well, I'm sorry, in the dirt. Making garden beds. Or whatever I'm doing out there to make it look nice for my landlord as the snow is coming. Yeah, okay.
What is it?
And my toys are being thrown out. Oh, speaking of that, Andre said there was a homeless man in the bin yesterday. And I guess he found an old metal Tonker fire truck and dump truck that was in good shape because I left him out there for the kids, right? For Kyrie and stuff, but whatever. And he came out of the garbage can. And Andre said, just be careful what you're doing in there. He goes, yeah. But he showed Andre what he got. And Andre said, yeah, like, whatever. So that guy scored. Do you know how hard you can't even find those things anymore? Old Tonka metal trucks. Oh, my God. One was a fire truck and the other one was a dump truck. So maybe that is my renegade, broke-ass freaking property development crew first number guy. He's the foreman. He's the one that's got the trucks and the emergency equipment if he needs it.
Let me see. That's not that. That's an enemy. Well, then it is what it is. Welcome to my world. I never even thought to bring pants with me. It's okay. It's just going to have to do. The legs aren't wet. There's nothing we can do about it.
How about no?
Right?
I'm so tired.
You're fine. Yeah, we need a blanket for you.
He's probably kicking his legs. The legs that's getting us into trouble as they're coming out of their hips. Do you hear him crying out on pain with that? No. Yeah. He's kicking his legs as he's laying down on that examination table. That's what that is. Maybe it's the lamb maid doing something.
Can you cover him up with something?
But the wet.
I know.
And you put it on the wet side and the weird on the wet side.
calm down.
Crabbing, eh? Okay, so that was number 1. If I add the rest of them to this, it'll take too long. It'd be a 3-hour video. I think so. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Hold on.